Hey everyone, it's Olivia Omega coming to you not live with brand messaging training, specifically how to write a brand positioning statement. If you were with me live, you know we had some technical difficulties. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I have recorded the entire thing now so that you can watch it at your leisure and pause the video as you need to. Feel free to post or email me questions and I would love to answer them for you. The reason I am doing this and why it's so important for me to share this information with you is because branding goes far beyond the logo that you have. And I did hear someone say once that your logo, your website, the brand really doesn't matter at all. None of that matters if this isn't correct. So if you don't have your brand messaging clear and you don't have, you're not able to communicate who you are, what you do, why, for who clearly, then all of that other fun branding, pretty outward-facing visuals don't even matter at all. One thing that I want you guys to think about is when you go to a networking event, when you go to a party, when you're speaking, when you're talking to people and they ask you what you do or you're trying to articulate what you do for your business, do you have a set pitch that you say every time, or at least a pitch that you kind of have to pull out of your back pocket that you can tweak depending on the audience that you speak to? If not, this will help you to build that as well. This is kind of like the brand positioning statement is the foundation of all of your messaging that you use across your brand and throughout. So in my past life, when I graduated from college, I had been interning at an ad agency in Boulder, branding agency, and when I finally graduated, they didn't have a job for me, so I moved to Manhattan. And I was there for 3 months working for a really large global advertising agency. But I got a call from Boulder asking me to come back, that they had a job for me, and specifically my first assignment or first big project to be on out of college was to help the brand Lay's potato chips. And their goal was to figure out how to take certain flavors of Lay's potato chips and the Lay's brand overall and position it towards African American and Latina moms. So that was my first job. And I now, looking back, have a lot of issues with that first work I did for lots of reasons. The product, for one, but even just, targeting that group to sell more junk food. Probably not the best thing to do in life, but at the time I was 21, I was so excited, and this was my first job. So during that time, that's when I learned about what a brand positioning statement was. And this is a template that is used by Fortune 500 companies to position their brand against their competitor. When you think about your competitive set, think about everyone else that does what you do. Where do they fall in this map of positioning? And where do you want to be in relation to them? During this time and as an entrepreneur, I have been in a lot of situations where people ask me, Olivia, what do you do? And I'm clear now, but it's taken years to get that way, to get to this point, partially due to my understanding or growing understanding of positioning, but also just growing into myself and into who I am and what I like to do, what I want to do versus what I can do. And that's a huge topic for me and a lot of other women I've spoken to, as well as what's in my book, is you don't have to do everything that you can do. We can do a lot of things. And as women, we are the best multitaskers on the planet. So we can multitask and do 100 different things at one time. And I used to kind of glorify in that. I remember at one point in time, my son was 1 year old, my daughter was 4. I had just left my job and started my children's clothing line. And I was literally on the phone with the producers of the Ellen Show, working out a project with them, heating up leftover pizza from the night before for lunch, while I was coloring and I was doing laundry and trying to cook something, like trying to do all of these things. And I can't say I was amazing at it all, but I can say I got it all done. But now looking back on life and becoming older and wiser, knowing that multitasking is not beneficial. We can't do everything good, and we think we might be doing it good, but we can't. And multitasking doesn't benefit the people we're trying to serve by any means. So when I'm sitting there and my kids are wanting to play apples to apples or Jenga, and I'm on my phone kind of replying to Facebook posts and checking my email while I'm playing with them, I'm not really serving the people I'm sending these emails to, right? And the people I'm posting social media, comments to, they don't care that I'm responding right at that moment. And I'm definitely not serving my kids because I'm not fully present. So thinking about your business and the brand positioning statement, it's important to be really focused on what you want to do, not what you can do. We can do a lot of different things. So this statement allows us to present ourselves to our potential target audience in a very clear and powerful way. Basically, to woo them. You're wanting to impress and woo a specific person. I do a ton of dating analogies. I don't know how I got started with this, but I think having to do with the fact that I didn't date when I was younger and didn't ever have the experience of dating until after my divorce in my mid-30s with 2 kids. Now trying to date, and it was very, very interesting. I did some online dating on Match.com, but it reminds me of social media, but it reminds me of marketing and business. If I have a target audience, I know the type of person I want to work with, the perfect client. And for me to go out in the marketplace and to say, hey, I'm Olivia Omega, I do branding, and I'll pretty much do it for anyone, is kind of like on your Match.com profile saying, my name's Olivia, I am looking to date a man, and I'll pretty much date anyone, any man. You're kind of lower your standards. Like you're not putting out there exactly who you want to work with, and so you're not going to attract that either. What this statement allows us to do is to make an intention, put a stake in the ground. This is what I want to do. This is who I do it for, and this is why I do it and what makes me different from everyone else that's out there. Markets start to become extremely saturated. A good example of that is life coaching. So the life coaching market, this was just last year, it was one of the number one growing positions or titles that people are using lately for lots of reasons. It's extremely flexible. I feel like when you're a coach and a life coach, you're doing your life's work and you're really providing value and helping people. One issue with that is, and if you guys are life coaches, I know there's quite a few of you and a lot of people that I have worked with and follow and who follow me. If you're a life coach, you know that the requirements and the training of a life coach vary, and there are no actual guidelines or regulations around that. So people can throw around and use the term life coach very easily, whether they've been trained or not. Or you could have a degree and have taken long courses and paid a lot of money to get actually trained to have the skill to do so. So in the marketplace, though, unfortunately, when people are looking for a life coach, they can't always distinguish from the person who wakes up one day and decides it'll be great to do this and I'll just call myself a life coach, versus some of you who've spent a lot of money and time honing your skill and getting certifications to do so. So the brand positioning statement allows you to separate yourself from your target. From your competition, from other people that are out there, especially in markets that are saturated. Not only are the markets saturated, but then the messaging becomes extremely saturated as well. So let's take the notion of a message, build the life you love. And this is something that we all strive to do, right? And a lot of us who are working with clients want to help them do that for them. So in branding, in what I do, I'm helping women brand their business to have freedom and to walk in their God-given purpose, ultimately to build the life they love, right? If you are a life coach, if you are a yoga teacher, if you are a school teacher, ultimately you're helping your target, your client, craft, build, create a life that they love and in different areas of their life. So this can be applied to a lot of different people. The problem with that is a lot of people are using this catchphrase or this tagline as their marketing message and as their branding positioning. Here is the problem with that. Marie Forleo is very, very well known in the business world and works with hundreds of entrepreneurs to build a business and a life they love. And this is something that she's been using for years and uses all over the place, which is great. I love that position. I love that platform. I love what she does. Oprah is doing something very similar in using everywhere this phrase of creating the life you want, which is very similar. And we see this over and over again. Live the life you love. Create the life you love. Over and over and over again by lots of different people trying to say a similar thing to a large audience, lots of different people. When in doing research, I found out that Bob Marley actually first coined that phrase. So what we want to do is we want to be able to set ourselves apart and create a brand positioning statement that again says, this is what I do, this is who I do it for, this is why I am passionate about doing it and why I am the best solution for you, the best option. In positioning, you want to do 3 things, and I don't have a slide for it, but write this down. 3 things in your positioning. You want to be relevant. So you can only be relevant to an audience that you have targeted, that you have labeled and chosen. So for me to try to be relevant to the entire world isn't possible. It's not going to be effective. But if I'm trying to be relevant to this specific woman, to this specific person, beyond psychographics, we'll talk about it more in a second, and beyond demographics, we want to look at psychographics. We'll talk about that a little bit more. The second thing is I need to be unique and memorable, and the only way for me to be unique and memorable is for me to convey who I am as a person. There is no other Olivia Omega on the planet. However, I have found other people with my name, which is just mind-blowing to me that other people would have the last name Omega. I just thought it was just my family. It's actually really upsetting. And who would have the first name Olivia? They actually exist out there. But there is no other me. There are hundreds and thousands of branding experts. There's hundreds of women branding experts who work with other women entrepreneurs. There are hundreds of women branding experts that work with other entrepreneurs and who have a advertising and branding background, who are used to work in an agency. But there is no other me. So the way I deliver it, my personality and who I am in my DNA sets me apart and makes me memorable. The third thing is credibility. In your positioning, you want to talk about what makes you credible in order to do what you do. And this isn't talking about degrees or training or things like that. Those things are great. And depending on what you do, those things are a must-have. But it simply could be life experience. Look, my life experience and what I have done makes me credible to do what I do, to offer what I offer. But again, those 3 things need to be prevalent and need to be understood in your brand messaging. Okay, let's talk about something I absolutely love. Let's talk about pizza. It's my favorite food. I could have it every day of the week because you could do so much with it. You could have the Little Caesars super cheap $5 hot and ready cheese pizza, which my kids adore. They love me when I get Little Caesars. You could do Papa Murphy's, the take and bake, which I love and my husband loves, and that can go in the oven and be fresh, ready for you when you're ready. And you can have a lot of different toppings. You could do delivery. You could go to a gourmet pizza place. There's so many options, and I love them all. But talking about market share, we talk about we start to compete in a saturated market with saturated messaging. Little Caesars, Domino's, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, those are the biggest players. But you notice how they have really small market share. So Domino's, for example, and Domino's was the second project I got to work on out of college in doing some new product development and brand positioning for them. Was a really fun project. But they only have 6.82 market share of this whole pizza pie here. So all of the market. Little Caesars has 5.32. So those percentages are extremely small, but they're the biggest players in the category because the person who has, or the people who has the largest share over on your right side, the 54.25%, half of the market is owned by independents. These are your mom and pop pizza places. These are really small chains, individual people and shops. When you think about Denver, there's a lot of really great pizza places here. I had an argument with somebody or a heated debate about what pizza really was and how Denver doesn't have real pizza because we're not a New York or Chicago. But it's all about perspective, right? I love pizza and I love my city. So Denver has some great pizza places, some one-offs here and there. So as an independent, think about us women entrepreneurs. If we all were to pool together as independents, we would take up a ton of market share. But we're not. We're solopreneurs. We're individuals. We're mom and pop pizza shops. So within this 54%, there's itty bitty slivers of 0.0025% and 0.0001% that these people are taking, which is nothing compared to Domino's and Little Caesars. That's what happens when you position yourself against your entire market. So going back to the life coach analogy, and this applies to you. So think about the market you're in, think about what you're doing and who you're serving, and the alternatives to what you're offering. Again, going back to life coaches, if I position myself and I go out and I say, whether it's on my website, whether it's at a dinner party, at a networking event, hi, my name's Olivia and I'm a life coach, then I have now positioned myself against everyone. Supposedly it's 17,000 life coaches out there, which I know that number has got to be higher. You're positioning yourself against every single one of those people. So now every single one of those people become your direct competition because I'm just a life coach. Now, if I can hone in on I am a life coach that specifically works with this fraction of a target audience, these women who deal with this and who have gone through this specifically, and this is what I do for them, I've basically taken myself out of this massive pizza pie, this huge pie with a tiny itty bitty sliver, and I've created my own pie that I can dominate. So instead of taking 0.0003% of a huge pie of a market share, if I narrow my target and narrow my focus, then even geographical, you could even say, okay, I'm a life coach. I work with this type of woman who not only is this age, but she's gone through this and she's hoping to do this with her life. And I work with them in Denver. Now you've narrowed your target even more. And guess what? You could own a big chunk of that pie. I'd rather own 75% of my market share in that narrow niche than 0.003% of a big pizza. So hopefully that makes sense. And sometimes my analogies don't make sense and I can ramble, but hopefully that makes sense to you and you can think about how to apply that to your market and what you're doing. As entrepreneurs, as women entrepreneurs, we have the most amazing, crazy, insane minds. And I joke, anytime I'm like with another entrepreneur, I'm like, you know what? We have insane minds. We think about a lot of different things. We have a lot of ideas. And sometimes to other people, it can come across as being scattered or all over the place because we have so much going on. And again, going back to what I said initially, We can do so many things. We have the skill and the knowledge and the ability and the contacts to do a lot of different stuff. So in my mind, this is what I feel like my brain looks like. And let me know if you are in the same boat, if you agree. On the left are people like my husband. He's an entrepreneur, so he has a lot going on in his head, lots of different ideas, but he's more left-brained. He's very analytical. He loves numbers. He loves analytics. Things are black and white to him. The answer is either yes or no. On the flip side of that, on the right side, I am like, yeah, the answer is yes or no, or there's so much gray in between and there's so many colors and the answer could be this or could be this. Or if you consider the feelings of so-and-so person, and if you consider the time of day, and then the answer could be different, and on and on and on and blah, blah, blah. It's very colorful over here. It's very pretty and it's very bright. And in my mind, if you see this, there's it's kind of organized, right? We have the streams of color. I know in my head what I do, and I know in my head what I want to do. I also have it very organized in my head. What what target audience that I have, and I can do these things for some people, and these things and one day I want to start this business, and maybe I want to do this, and I've had 3 businesses, like all of these different crazy things, right? And we think it's organized. But as we are communicating to potential targets and to our customers on social media, on our website, in our Facebook Live videos, as we start talking, sometimes if we aren't clear, it can actually look like this. I saw this and I laughed out loud. It's so funny to me. Like, what is that? And so people sometimes don't get us because we're a special breed. It takes a little bit of crazy to be entrepreneurs and do what we do. We never want that crazy to look too crazy. We don't want it to be too scary. And most importantly, we don't want people to be confused about what we do. Because what happens in a world where they are inundated with messages all over Facebook, I wonder if you guys can answer this question. How many Facebook ads have you been served just today? I know I have seen for coaching, other women coaches and consultants, I've seen at least 15 ads today. And if their messaging isn't specific, then I'm just going to kind of gloss by them. Or if it's confusing, wait, they do what? They do this and this and this and this? Or this? Then people will pass over it. They'll either be confused, they won't know it's for them, or it'll seem like it's for everyone and it won't really catch their eye. So we don't want this. We don't want to look like this when we're talking to people. And even at networking events, when we're trying to explain what we do for who, we don't want it to come across this way. So it takes some organization. So I have given you guys a worksheet. It's 3 pages. And this is the first page, so you guys can take notes with me, and I'll walk through exactly what this template is and how you can apply it. So the template, again, it's a standard brand positioning statement template that Fortune 500 companies use, and I tweaked it a little bit just as I've used it with clients, just for my own understanding, and I feel like it's helped them quite a bit. Changed it a tiny bit, but not a lot. And there are 5 sections to this, and we're going to talk about each one. One thing that I do with clients is we always start here. So it doesn't matter if somebody is just starting their business and they need to get clear on their messaging. They're not even exactly sure who their target is exactly. They want to narrow it down. We start with this template. And if someone has been in business for 5 years and they are hiring me to refresh their brand or to come up with a new strategy, maybe their old focus isn't returning the results that they used to get. They used to be making a certain amount of money and being able to pull in certain clients, and now they can't because the environment changes, the market changes, the resources that our clients have at their fingertips shift and change. We always start back here. Let's look at this. Do we have this clear? Do we need to make some tweaks? So this is a great place to start. There's some places with notes, a place to doodle if you're a doodler and a drawer. It might help to draw some circles and lines and all that good stuff. So let me jump in and explain real fast the sections for you. Number one is your brand name. This is so easy. If you are an individual, a coach, a consultant, a speaker, an author, then your name goes here. So I would put Olivia Omega in this place at the top. If you have a company name and you work with a partner, or you have another name that you go by, that goes here. So this is whatever you are, forward facing to the outside world. So again, your name or your company. Or it could be a combination. It could be Olivia Omega of Wallace Marketing Group. I could put that there. But really, you want it to be whatever the company is, the company name or your brand name. Number two is the frame of reference. This is going to be something that people can connect your brand to, something, your category, for example. So when I say to people, my name's Olivia Omega, and I'm a branding strategist, or personal branding consultant, they should be able to get it. It should be kind of in an instant. They know what I'm talking about. They might need more information, but they're able to, in their brain, because our brains categorize things, their brain quickly jumps to whoever else they know or whatever else they know as far as a frame of reference within that category. And I'll give some examples in a moment. This is not a super crazy, fluffy, creative title. So I met a guy who worked for a big advertising agency, and his title on his business card was lemon juicer, like a lemon squeezer. And once you start talking to him, of course, he has this really great, crazy, elaborate, fun, cool explanation of what that really is. And I can't even remember it right now. He probably was like an account manager or something like that. But this isn't the time to be creative. So here is where you need someone to immediately shift their mind to the category and the place where you're at, okay, quickly, so that as you start to explain the rest of the stuff, you guys are all on the same page. A great example of a frame of reference was probably 2 years ago. I went to a conference and I had the opportunity to talk to the co-creator of Surrey, which is huge. And he was talking about his journey and how Steve Jobs basically picked up the phone and called him one day to collaborate to actually bring Surrey to fruition under the Apple brand. And he said that as he's explaining this, and this was years ago, if you think about when Surrey first came out, quite a while ago, there was no frame of reference. So nothing had been created like Surrey in the past. So he didn't have, I am just like X, Y, and Z to say to people because it didn't exist. He had to create his own category, which is so cool to think about, especially today when you have Alexa and all of these other artificial intelligence. So basically what he was talking about was that he had to create a frame of reference that people could understand and that they could understand quickly. So when he would say Surrey, or this idea that he has, he would have to say a personal assistant in your pocket, or a personal concierge in your pocket, something like that. And people would be like, oh, okay, I get it. It's on my phone and it's like a personal assistant. So think about what your frame of reference is going to be and how you can use something that people will instantly get. Number 3 is your target audience. So again, we want to narrow down and be very specific. Someone will say, I want to work with women, but I'll work with men too, which is okay. You could work with men and women, but you got to figure out how to narrow that. Men and women, and beyond age. So now we think about psychographics. What is going on in their minds or their stage of life or their situation, or what problem do they have that ties them together that's very specific? An example of this is a woman who is a business coach. That's very broad, similar to life coach, right? There's tons of business coaches out there. But she is a business coach for established wedding planners. That blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, how perfect is that? So she has narrowed down her niche. She's a life coach for wedding planners. That's super narrow, right? But not just wedding planners, but established wedding planners. So these are planners who have been in the business for a while. So she's going to help them take their business to the next level. And that's all she does. And what she's done is she's taken that big pie, going back to the Domino's and Little Caesars, she's narrowed down to a small section of that. She's kind of created her own pie, right? Established wedding planners. And now she can dominate that pie. So she can work to get 75%. I'm like, go for 100% market share in that tiny niche. So when a wedding planner who is established gets to a phase in their business where they've been growing for several years now and they've taken their business as far as they can take it, they've hit a plateau, and now they want to go to the next level, they would be ridiculous to not hire you. It's a no-brainer. Wouldn't you, as a wedding planner who's established and needs a growth plan and needs some strategy, want to hire the person who has positioned themselves as the wedding planner business coach? Of course you would. You want to become the obvious choice for your potential target. So narrowing down that target, thinking about psychographics of who they are, where do they shop, where do they hang out online? Do they love Facebook? Are they spending most of their time there? Are they Twitter people? Do they love Instagram? Are they spending most of their time there or on Pinterest? Do they love bookstores and love the feel of paperback books, or are they Kindle people, electronic book readers? What type of clothing brands do they love? Who do they follow? What celebrities do they like? Like, I know that starts to get really granular, but when you can do that, you narrow your niche and you can dominate and focus on those people. When those people run across your message, it should speak to them in a way where it makes you the obvious choice for them to hire. Number 4 is what you offer. Now, this isn't your tangible product. This isn't what's on the surface as far as the features that your product offers or that your service does. This is the emotional gain or the unique promise. So an example I always use, it's very simple, but I think it's good because it gets the point across, is a paperclip. If you look at a paperclip and we think about what this paperclip offers, I have one in my hand right now. What does this paperclip offer? When we think about the features of the paperclip, we could say the paperclip is 1 inch tall. It's the one I have in my hand happens to be plastic coated, so it's not the straight aluminum ones. It's got a pink plastic coating on it. It weighs X amount of grams. These are all like features, right? They're descriptors. So these descriptors could be that you offer online coaching, a couple days a week, or that you work out of an office in Denver. These are just descriptors, okay? So we're not looking for that. The other thing that this paperclip does when we talk about benefits is the paperclip can hold papers together so that they hold papers together to keep organized or whatever. It's not temporary, so it's not like a staple where you staple it in, it's hard to get out. You can clip and unclip, reuse them, they're reusable, etc. So these are benefits. But what is the emotional gain of this paperclip? And you kind of have to stretch yourself a little bit. What is the emotional gain? So the emotional gain of this paperclip, especially this pretty pink one that I'm holding in my hand, is that when I use this paperclip, or let's say when I use a lot of paperclips, right? And that means I have everything organized on my desk. It makes me feel put together. It makes me feel like a rock star entrepreneur. Maybe using paper clips allows me to not commit because I'm not stapling things. Allows me to feel free. I know this gets kind of foo-foo and woo-woo and out there and stuff like that. We talk about the emotional benefit of a paperclip. It's just a paperclip. But how could it make you feel like you're a better person or like an amazing rock star entrepreneur? But that's that emotional benefit we're trying to get at. Think about when you buy a product and you can't quite explain why you bought it. You just love it and you just wanted it. And there's an emotional tie. There's an emotional benefit. Or you've spent a little bit way too much on something, but it was worth every penny because of what? It's usually not because of the color, the size, those sorts of tangible, basic things. It's usually because of the emotional value it brings to you. How did it make you feel? So in this part number 4, what you offer, you have to ladder up, a term that we used all the time, to ladder up. You want to go up into the clouds a little bit, right? So when I step on the first rung of a ladder, these are like the functional benefits of what I offer, helping somebody to brand their business. Go up a little bit more on that ladder, get higher in the sky, a little bit where the air is a little bit thinner. What does this do emotionally? So I keep asking the question, why? This is how I kind of get to that. So they're hiring me to help them launch their business. Why? For what? So that they can have, maybe it's specifically that they can have freedom to travel and spend more time with their kids. Okay, but why? Why is it important for them to have freedom and travel with their kids? Because they get to create the life they love. There's that phrase again. So this statement here is really about what do I provide emotionally? What helps them? What's my unique promise? And it's not just that I'm a life coach, but then what do they get from that? So this takes a lot of practice and a lot of time. When I've done this for big companies, we spend months working through pieces and elements to get to this brand positioning statement. And I would work with clients. We spend weeks, if not a month, tweaking and tailoring this. So don't feel like you can get it in one shot. And in fact, that's why I gave you a practice draft paper and a final paper. This is something that you're going to sit down with and muddle through and hit your head against the wall a couple times and come up with something better and erase and try it again and then sit with it for a night and then tweak it again and sit with it for a week. And then you'll finally get to a place where it's like, gosh, this is it. And then 6 months later, you'll get wiser in your business, or a year or 2 years later. I just tweaked my positioning statement earlier this year after a couple years because you get wiser. You learn your client more. You learn what you do and what you offer a little bit better, or you change your mind on what you offer and what you do and tweak this a little bit more. So have patience with yourself here, especially with that number 4. It's really tricky. And then the because, so this is back with your name brand here for number 1. And then the last thing is the reasons to believe. This is number 5. A reason to believe, or an RTB, is that tangible fact. Why should I believe all of this stuff? So Olivia says that she's a branding expert and she's going to help me do X, Y, and Z. How do I know that's for real? How is she for real? So this is a couple things. This is that credibility or credentials we talked about, because I've been doing branding and marketing for over 15 years. So this could be length of time. This could be credentials, but this could also just be, this is how I do it. This is exactly what I am offering you. This is how you know that I am delivering on that unique promise that I set up at number 4. So let's dive into a couple examples. The first one is Coca Cola. So I use this example because it's a big brand. Everyone has had it, at least, whether you drink soda or not. You've probably had Coke in your life and have some sort of opinion on it, whether it's poison or you love the brand. It's familiar. And they have a very specific brand positioning. This is from several years ago, but it still holds true now, even as they shift campaigns, and that's important too. The brand positioning statement is the foundation of your brand. It's like your brand's Bible, okay? Whether you have a different campaign, or Coca-Cola comes up with a different slogan or a different ad, or they use a different celebrity, they're still staying true to this brand positioning statement. Okay, so this doesn't tweak and change with your creative, or with your ads, or your campaign. This is at the core essence of who you are as a brand. So number 1, Coca-Cola, that was easy. Yay! Check that off. Is the only This is number 2, caffeinated carbonated soft drink. So again, this is your frame of reference. Nothing crazy, nothing too creative here. You want people to just get it. So whether I've never ever heard of Coca-Cola in my life, knowing that it's a caffeinated carbonated soft drink, I understand exactly and instantly what category they're playing in. The reason I have is the only here, and I get pushback on with clients a lot, like, well, I'm not the only one, and I'm not the only one that does. No, but in your brand positioning statement, you want to craft it in a way that no one else can copy and paste it. So you don't want so-and-so yoga instructor down the street to be able to copy and paste your brand positioning statement, because you want to kind of make it unique to you. And you want to be really the obvious choice, the one and only no-brainer choice to your specific target audience's problem. So when we have this word only in here, it helps us to think of things in that way. Number 3 is for, this is their target audience, millennials valuing connection. So they may have a couple targets, but I think this is one of their primary ones, the millennial valuing connection. Number 4 is their emotional gain, a unique promise. Okay, so we could say at the bottom rung, or at the bottom of this ladder, Coca-Cola quenches my thirst, because they're a drink. And drinks do that. Now, if you know the background on carbonated drinks, you know that is not true and that is a lie. But anyway, let's just keep this simple. Don't get me started. We'll keep it simple. So it's a liquid beverage that quenches your thirst, right? But what does that do for you emotionally? And yes, we have emotional ties to food and to certain brands. So the emotional gain and the unique promise for Coca-Cola is that it brings people together through shared positive experiences. This is very prevalent in Coca-Cola's campaigns of share a Coke and a smile. So that's kind of where that came from. Now, if you have gone up the ladder and you're at the top of the ladder, the air is thin, you are not thinking clearly now, and you are in the clouds, and your BS meter goes off. So the BS meter is like, okay, wait a minute. Coca-Cola does not make everyone's life better, okay? Then you might want to come down a rung. So there is such thing as going too high in the sky and saying Coca-Cola will change your life forever, will make you a better person, and all of those things. You want to get high, no pun intended, but you want to also be authentic and believable. One thing in my Lay's potato chips example that we discovered in doing, I attended focus groups across the country talking to Latina and African American moms about what it meant, what Lay's potato chips meant to them, and what it meant for them to feed their family, to feed their kids, and after school snacks, and the emotions, getting at the emotions behind that. And so what we ended up doing is talking about how potatoes are from the earth. So potatoes come from under the ground. They're from the earth. And coming from the earth, that means they are rich in vitamins, and that they are healthy and can be seen as nutritious. And we plugged that tie, this halo effect, to potato chips, which is horrible. It's horrible, but that's how we talked about what this emotional tie is when you eat Lay's, and when you know that you can't just eat one. But as a mom serving it and buying it for my kids, I'm loving them. I'm providing them with a snack that comes from the earth. Gosh, I know that's horrible. Hopefully you guys don't hate me after you hear all of this. But that's what happened. That's what I did. All right, so we want to create this emotional gain and unique promise. Again, this is hard to do, and you might need to tweak and work with this one a little bit, because Coca-Cola, and this is your reasons to believe, so some of these can be still a little ambiguous, or these could be facts. This is what you do. So this one's a little bit ambiguous, but Coca-Cola crosses ethnic and economic barriers, which it does. It promotes inclusivity and promotes sharing and tastes great. And that's based on opinion, not fact. But this is what they're using as their reasons to believe. Why can I believe? How do I believe that Coca-Cola brings people together through shared positive experiences? Let's use another example. this is an example of a client of mine that I recently talked about, and how he has shifted his brand positioning a little bit. Now, it's funny to note and interesting to talk about here is that he's always had this positioning. So if you think about deep down in your heart, you are who you are, you have your values. It's just that we're not so good at communicating those in a concise, clear manner. So after you're done creating this brand positioning statement, you can use it in a couple different ways. This says, take these notes down. This is what your brand positioning statement is used for. It is used as your compass for your brand. This is your internal gauge and internal statement. So for grammar people, there's grammar people listening. I know that this is a run-on sentence, trust me, especially when you start to fill it in. It can get really long and wordy, and it's okay. You can refine, kind of like a reduction sauce. If you're cooking and you want to reduce the sauce, you keep cooking it until all of the liquid and water kind of has been boiled out of it to leave you with something really thick. So the same thing with this. You want to keep working this to make it shorter and shorter and more concise, reduce, take out the extra added fluff and words that you don't need until you come with a concise, solid statement. Because this statement can be run on and because it can be maybe not technically a perfect sentence, this is not your advertising. So this is an internal statement. This drives your brand. So then as you hire people and work with people, you can use this statement to say, this is my brand positioning statement, and everything we create that is outward facing needs to line up with this. Every opportunity that people bring to you, hey, I have a great idea for you, I have a great opportunity, I have a great thing for you, needs to line up with this statement. This is your Bible, for lack of better terms, and your root grounding, your compass, your internal guide for who you are as a brand. So then this has to be translatable. So this is what the brand positioning statement is not grammatically correct all the time. It is not rigid. You can update this and it can flow freely. It's not set in stone, and can be directly transferable to your website, to your pitch, to your elevator pitch, to your social media platforms, but it is not meant to be copied and paste. Okay, so that's just a little caveat. You're gonna have to work with it to make it outward facing, but this is inward facing. So Access Yoga Teacher Trainings is the brand, is Denver's only or original, we kind of are working with that now, is Denver's only traditionally based institute focused exclusively on yoga teacher training. So it's important that we said Denver's, and it's important that we said it's the only or original traditionally based institute focusing on yoga teacher trainings. There's tons of yoga studios out there. And so if he were to just position himself against other yoga studios, we're looking at that big piece of pie again with all of those big players. So what he did was we narrowed down to yoga teacher training, and he really is the only company who just trains teachers. He doesn't have classes that anyone and everyone can take. Number 3, and thinking about someone who would want to become a yoga teacher, let's narrow that down a little bit more. So there's tons of people doing yoga. There's tons of people who love yoga and maybe who are like, I might want to become a teacher. But what his brand is for is dedicated students who are hungry to discover yoga beyond the poses. So if you're wanting to become a yoga teacher, and you care about the asana, and specifically, I want to learn the poses, I want to learn the benefits of the poses, and I want to learn how to organize and string together a good class, then this is probably not the best place for you because there's lots of other yoga teacher trainings that do that. This is beyond the pose. So this goes back to our Ayurvedic practices and meditation and breathing and all of these other elements of yoga. So we wanted to distinguish that a little bit. Number 4 is that. So this is the emotional gain, a unique promise. What does the client or the student receive emotionally when they walk away from this? It empowers students to fully embody yoga in all aspects of life and be agents of good in the world. So an agent of good that is specifically talking about the culture and the focus of Access Yoga teacher trainings and the heart of their founders. So this is bringing a little bit of their DNA and their identity, their values and their heart into their brand positioning statement, which separates them from other yoga studios out there. Because Access Yoga Teacher Trainings has served dedicated students for 15 years and has a concentrated staff of 3 core instructors with thousands of hours of international study with world-renowned teachers. So that's a big deal. They've been here for 15 years, which is an extremely long time, thinking about all of the yoga studios and yoga teacher trainings that have popped up in the last 5 years or so. It's a core staff of 3 instructors, and these core instructors have traveled the world studying with people in India and all over the world. That's a big selling point, okay? That's important, and that sets them apart from their competition. Okay, so here's another example. Erin Buzzbee of Buzzbee Style, I met at a conference and she hired me to do specifically this. Go and tweak and, I almost said twerk. Did you guys hear that? She wanted me to twerk her brand positioning statement. Oh my gosh. She wanted me to tweak her brand positioning statement and messaging so that it would be narrow and focused. So we have here for number 2, the frame of reference, the go-to style expert. And we wanted to make it clear that people didn't have to guess and wonder, what is she talking about? We wanted that frame of reference to be very easy for people to get. And then number 3, and this is what we kind of came down to, is for busy women juggling life over 40. And we worked and worked and worked and twerked and twerked and twerked this target audience quite a bit because we knew that she wanted to target women over 40. But what was the conundrum? What was their issue? What was their life dealing with? What was going on? And so they were busy and they're juggling a ton of stuff. And so obviously, if you're juggling a ton of stuff, you're probably juggling kids, you're probably juggling a marriage, you're probably juggling work, or you're an executive, or, all of these different things. It doesn't really matter, but she's juggling a lot of different stuff. Now coming down to the emotional benefit, she offers, and again, we worked on this quite a bit because it got really, really long, but in its simplest terms, she offers simple guidance, empowering women to be their most confident and stylish self. So we had to go up that emotional ladder to say, okay, when you can help women pick out their clothes and come up with styles that work for them, and especially someone who's over 40, they want to feel young, but there's certain things that just aren't appropriate, or they look silly or funny because you can't dress like a 20-year-old and be taken seriously, whatever that might be. But when you can help someone do that, when you can give them guidance and help empower them, how does it make them feel and what does it do for their life? When you can tap into that emotional gain, you can actually charge more because you're helping them solve an emotional problem and you are giving them an emotional benefit. And a lot of times you can't put a price tag on that. Number 1, again, because Erin Buzzbee and Buzzbee Style, number 5, Reasons to Believe, provides video style tutorials, shopping suggestions, and beauty tips. And so this is the actual, what makes you believe? What are the reasons why we know that she can provide what she says in number 4? So she offers YouTube video tutorials. I think it's every Monday and Wednesday, so twice a week. And she talks about that a lot, which is really cool. So we had that in there, and then we started to get long, so we took that out. But ultimately, these are the things that she provides. So talking about how this is translated, this again is your internal compass. This is your internal brand positioning statement. How is that translated externally? Here's an example below. So we set this sentence. This is now her compass and her Bible and all opportunities that come her way. She says, does this fit my brand positioning, or all marketing, all projects that she's doing? Does this still fit? Does this still resonate with this target that I've come up with? Then we take this statement and we tweak it. We make it maybe a little bit more playful. It could be a little bit longer. Maybe it's 2 sentences instead of 1. And we create it. We create a statement for her social media, for her welcome on her website, etc. That is directly from this brand positioning statement. So below is that what we translated to use externally. So externally it says, "Hi, I'm Erin. I created Buzzbee Style to make style and shopping simple for busy women like us, juggling life over 40. Be sure to stop by every Wednesday and Friday mornings to watch my latest style and beauty tutorials. I want you to step out your door with a little extra confidence, knowing that no matter what life throws your way, you can look like you have your act together even if you don't. Thank you for stopping by." So this very clearly explains what she does, for who very specifically, and why they would buy from her. And it's building a little bit of a relationship because she's saying busy women like us. So she's one of us. Okay, here's my brand example. And again, like I said, I tweaked this and I've added to this again earlier this year. And I think I've got it to a place that I really like it. It takes time, so don't be too hard on yourself here. But Olivia Omega is the only personal branding consultant for creative women entrepreneurs and makers that helps them walk in their God-given entrepreneurial purpose and empowers them to create an authentic, unique brand. Because Olivia Omega has had a passion for this work, from strategy to execution, and through messaging, identity, and brand online experiences for over a decade. So it's clunky. It's not the best sentence, but it's a great compass and a great internal statement for me to hang my hat on. I've talked about who I am. I have a specific target audience, and I talk about that emotional benefit. When you can walk in your God-given purpose, it feels so good. It goes far beyond just saying I started a business. And then how I do it. What are the reasons to believe? And the reasons to believe, this can start to get really long of what I offer. I offer branding workshops and tutorials and my blog and tips and on and on and on, but wanting to make this a little bit succinct to talk about strategy, executing on that strategy, but then also building websites, which are online, branded online experiences. And then I put the time in there. You don't have to do that, but that's something that can also talk about credibility. So then it's translated into the sentence below, which is extremely similar, but just wanted to bring up that notion again of this sentence isn't outward facing, it's internal, and then you could translate it to be external. All right, so now it's your turn to do this. Yay, you have all the tools, you know what to do. Number 1 should be easy, so you could check that off your list. The frame of reference should be pretty easy as well. So don't get too creative here. Just what bucket would people put you in and that you would fall in that makes sense instantly. And then 3 and 4, start to work on those. If you are working with women or men, then talk about, okay, what's their profession, or what do they do, or is it a mindset? Are you working with women in transition? And it could be women that are transitioning career-wise, so transitioning from college to the workforce, or transitioning from out of retirement, or whatever that might be. Could it be in relationships? Like, think about the problem that you solve, and then maybe work backwards on that to narrow down. You want to be able to whisper to that person. So you literally want to be able to say, just in a soft, gentle, going back to my dating analogies, voice to this person, this is what I can offer you, and this is why we're the perfect match, versus standing on top of a skyscraper and screaming as loud as you can to the entire city of what you offer in hopes that somebody listens and somebody hears you and bites. And this takes a lot of confidence. I know when I first left my job and started my business, I really could take anything. So I really could do work for anyone and anything, whatever would pay me. And that's okay and that's fine. So there's a difference between what you will do. Someone comes up to you and is just like, hey, will you design this logo? I hate designing logos without strategy. And so oftentimes I'll turn it down. If someone's like, I just want a quick logo and I just want to pay you a couple $100. And I'm like, no, we need to do a brand positioning statement, and we need to talk about your brand architecture, and we need to create a strategy around this brand and talk about what you offer and the emotional benefit, like all this stuff. And they don't want to pay me to do that piece. Then I'll say, you know what, I'm probably not the best logo designer for you because I'm a brand strategist first. And so I can turn that down. But then sometimes you don't want to and you take whatever. And that's okay. That's totally okay. But what's not okay is for your message to the world to be, I'll take whatever. So when you, a lot of times we have this fear of leaving money on the table. So if I focus on women and I don't focus on men too, then there's going to be men out there that want to work with me, and then I'm not going to get that money. Or if I just focus with handmade entrepreneurs who do handmade, so people who make things, and I'm going to miss out on, we can't think that way. We can't think about and be in this mindset of of having a famine or not having enough there and being worried that we aren't going to make enough if we narrow down. I'm telling you, owning 100% of that pie will probably make you more money and make you more successful than owning 0.00032% of that bigger pie when you compete with everyone else. So don't be afraid to narrow down your target audience. And then for what you offer, this takes a lot of time. And one good thing to do is talk to your current clients or talk to your past clients. Or if you're not in business yet, talk to some friends who you've been helping out or that have experienced you on a personal level and just say, when I did that one thing for you that one time, or when I helped you organize your entire kitchen, or I took you grocery shopping to help you come up with really healthy, easy meals. How did that make you feel afterwards? Just ask them the question. How did it make you feel? What was your emotion behind that? And you'll get a lot of that versus trying to ask them what you did for them, or even trying to make it up yourself. How did you feel? Then I ask this question. This always gets a lot of really great, rich information. I ask them, how would you feel if you and I had never met and we didn't work together? How would you feel right now? And so a lot of times it's the flip, right? It's the negative. Well, I'd feel sad, and I feel like I wasn't living up to my potential and walking my God-given purpose, whatever that may be, because that can help you get to that as well. So going from the positive route, how did it make you feel? Or how might you feel if it had never happened, or we had never worked together, this had never gone on? And then your reasons to believe. I would just start listing out and bulleting everything that you do and offer and how and why, and then just start to reduce that. Again, creating that reduction sauce of getting to the meat and the most important elements of your statement. And then lastly, here is your final. So once you've tweaked that and you've twerked it and did all of the stuff you wanted to with your drafts, sit on it for a little bit. Sleep on it, sit on it, roll on it, whatever you want to do. And then write your final. And then take that final draft and adapt it so that you can copy and paste this new adapted outward-facing statement on every social media platform and on your website. And this should be something that you kind of memorize so that when people ask you what you do, when you're at a networking event or when you're pitching your business or at the grocery store, you can come up with, you already have it all written out. You already have it together. This is what I do. This is who I do it for. And this is why. And you come across so clear in your business that people become clear in your business because you're clear. And I promise you, you'll see a shift and a change in how people respond to you and how you are attracting those clients. So I hope this was helpful. I know this was long, but I promise you it'll be very beneficial for your business and for that clarity. Please let me know if you have any questions. And lastly, let me know if there's another topic that you have been wrestling with or have questions on and you want me to do another live, not so live, recorded, or maybe live potentially if the internet is working webinar. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your day.